If you grew up in the 2010s, you probably remember the Amazing World of Gumball, a show famous for its wild animation, surreal humor, and the way it mixed different art styles into one chaotic universe. Gumball and Darwin's adventures in Elmore were always unpredictable, sometimes hilarious, sometimes surprisingly dark. But there's a story that's been whispered about in lost media circles, a story that never made it to TV. Fans call it deleted scene, and those who claim to know the truth say it's the one episode that was never meant to be found. I first heard about it from a friend who was obsessed with the show and the mysteries behind it. He told me that deleted scene was more than just a rumor. According to him, it was a real segment, created during the show's original run, but cut before it ever aired. The story goes that the scene was discovered on an old hard drive, hidden in a folder marked "Do Not Use." Only a handful of people have ever seen it, and those who have say it's nothing like the rest of the series. The scene supposedly starts like any other. Gumball and Darwin are in the living room, arguing over the TV remote. The animation is a little rougher than usual, the colors slightly off, but at first, it just feels like an early draft. Nicole walks in, tells them to stop fighting, and leaves the room. Gumball flips through the channels, but every station is static. Darwin jokes that maybe the TV is haunted, and Gumball dares him to fix it. Darwin crawls behind the TV, fiddling with the cables. Suddenly the screen flickers, and a strange, distorted image appears. A version of the living room, but empty and gray, with shadows moving in the corners. Gumball laughs it off, but Darwin looks uneasy. The static grows louder, and the shadows on the screen start to take shape, forming twisted versions of Gumball and Darwin, their faces blank and their eyes wide. Gumball tries to turn off the TV, but the remote doesn't work. The shadows on the screen begin to move on their own, mimicking the boy's actions, but always a second too late. Nicole returns, but she doesn't seem to notice anything wrong. Her face is blurred, her voice muffled, and she moves in slow motion. The boys call out to her, but she just walks past them, disappearing into the static on the TV. The scene lingers on Gumball and Darwin as they realize they can't leave the living room. Every door leads back to the same place, and the windows show only static. The shadows on the TV grow larger, pressing against the glass, their faces twisted into silent screams. The last thing you see is Gumball reaching out to touch the screen, his hand passing through the static as the scene cuts to black. The screen stays black for a few seconds, long enough to make you wonder if the scene is over. Then the picture returns. But everything is different. The colors are washed out, the animation jittery, and the living room is empty except for Gumball and Darwin. The TV is still on, but now it shows dozens of shadowy figures, all with blank faces and wide, staring eyes. The static is louder, almost buzzing, and the boys' voices sound distant, as if they're underwater. Gumball tries to open the front door, but it leads right back into the living room. Darwin runs to the kitchen, but the cabinets are empty. The fridge is humming with static, and the windows are covered in a thick, gray fog. Every time they try to leave, they end up back in front of the TV, the shadows on the screen pressing closer, their hands reaching out as if trying to escape. Nicole's voice echoes from somewhere in the house, but it's warped and slow, repeating the same phrase. Don't watch, don't watch. Gumball and Darwin call out for her, but she never appears. The boys start to panic, banging on the walls, shouting for help, but the only answer is the static and the shadows on the TV. Suddenly, the scene cuts to a series of quick, jarring flashes. Gumball and Darwin running through endless hallways, the shadows chasing them, the TV screen flickering with images of the family, their faces blurred and eyes empty. The boys try to hold hands, but their fingers slip through each other as if they're fading away. The static is deafening now, and the screen flickers with white noise. According to the legend, the scene doesn't end there. Some people claim that if you keep watching, you'll see a single frame of Gumball and Darwin standing in the empty living room, their faces blank, their eyes wide and pleading. Others say the screen flickers one last time, showing the TV with the words, "Deleted scene," written in shaky handwriting. The credits roll in silence with no music, just the low hum that's been building since the beginning. I tried to find proof of deleted scene, a clip, a screenshot, anything. But every time I got close, the trail went cold. Lost media forums are filled with people searching for the scene, trading stories and theories, but no one has ever produced a full recording. Some claim to have found old hard drives at garage sales or in thrift stores, but the footage is always corrupted, the audio warped and filled with static. I kept searching, hoping to find someone who could confirm the story, or at least explain where it came from. I messaged old animators, scoured fan forums, and even reached out to people who claimed to have worked on the Amazing World of Gumball in the early days. Most never replied, or just laughed off my questions. But one night, I got an anonymous email. The subject line was blank, and the message was short. "Some scenes are better left deleted." Attached was a single image, a blurry screenshot of Gumball and Darwin in the living room, their faces half lit by the glow of the static-filled TV. The quality was terrible, but I recognized the scene from the stories. In the background, the shadows on the screen seemed to press against the glass, their hands reaching out, their faces twisted in silent screams. I stared at the image for a long time, feeling a chill run down my spine. Was it real, or just a clever fake? I couldn't tell, but I saved it anyway. After that, the dreams started. I'd find myself trapped in the Watterson house, the rooms looping endlessly, the static growing louder with every step. Sometimes I'd see Gumball and Darwin at the end of a hallway, their faces blank, their eyes pleading for help. Other times, I'd see Nicole in the kitchen, her voice warped and slow, repeating, "Don't watch, don't watch." I'd wake up sweating, the sound of the static still ringing in my ears. I stopped searching for the scene after that. Every time I thought about it, I'd feel a wave of unease, as if something was warning me to leave it alone. But the story kept spreading. More people posted about their own experiences, strange dreams, corrupted files, TVs turning on by themselves late at night, always to a screen filled with static and the faint sound of the hum. Some fans started to believe that deleted scene wasn't just a lost segment, but a kind of curse, a story that infects anyone who hears about it, making them see things that aren't there, dream things they can't explain. Others said it was a metaphor for the fear of being forgotten, a way for the show's creators to explore the anxiety of losing yourself in a world that keeps moving on. But no one could explain the details that kept cropping up. The static, the looping house, the sense that something was watching from the shadows. Now, whenever I see an old Gumball rerun, I feel a little uneasy. I remember the stories, the image in that email, the dreams that still haunt me. And I wonder if the scene is still out there, waiting for someone new to find. I wish I could say the nightmares faded, that the story of deleted scene eventually became just another creepy internet rumor. But the truth is, it's always there, lurking in the back of my mind. Sometimes, when I'm alone in a quiet room, I'll hear the faint hum of static, or the echo of Nicole's voice repeating, "Don't watch." I'll turn on the TV late at night and find the screen flickering, and for a split second, I'll see the living room, the shadows pressing against the glass, and Gumball and Darwin's faces staring back at me. I've learned to live with it, in a way. I don't talk about the scene anymore, and I avoid anything to do with lost media. But every so often, someone will bring it up. A friend, a stranger online, even a random post on social media. The details are always the same. The lost scene, the static, the looping house, the sense that something is watching from the shadows. And every time, I feel that old fear creeping back in, cold and sharp as the sound of a TV left on in an empty room. Some people say the scene is still out there, hidden on an old hard drive in someone's attic, or buried deep in the archives of a forgotten server. Others believe it's just a story, a cautionary tale about the fear of being erased, of losing your place in the world. But those of us who've seen the images, who've heard the static in the dark, know better. We know that some stories have a way of sticking with you, of changing the way you see the world. Now, whenever I see Gumball and Darwin on TV, I hesitate before watching. I remember the static, the looping rooms, the way their eyes seem to plead for help. I wonder if the scene is still waiting for someone new to find it, someone new to carry the story forward. And I wonder if, somewhere out there, Gumball and Darwin are still trapped in that endless living room, calling out for help that never comes. So if you ever hear about deleted scene, or find yourself tempted to search for lost episodes late at night, remember my story. Some things are better left lost, some scenes are better left unwatched, and some memories, no matter how much you want to see them again, are better left deleted. Because once you've heard the static, once you've seen those empty eyes in the screen, you'll never look at the amazing world of Gumball, or your own reflection in the TV the same way again. I still get messages from people who stumble across the legend for the first time. They always start the same way. Curiosity, a little skepticism, maybe even a joke about how a cartoon could be so unsettling. But after a while, the tone changes. They ask if I've ever really seen the scene, if the dreams ever stop, if the feeling of being watched ever goes away. I never know what to tell them. I want to say it's all just a story, that it can't hurt you if you don't believe in it. But I know better. Sometimes I wonder if the scene is more than just a lost piece of animation. Maybe it's a kind of test, a way to see who's willing to look too closely, to dig too deep. Maybe it's a warning, a reminder that some things are meant to stay hidden. Or maybe it's just a story that got out of control, spreading from one person to the next, growing darker and more twisted with every retelling. But every so often I'll hear from someone who claims they found a copy, an old hard drive, a corrupted file, a link that only works once before disappearing forever. They always say the same thing. The scene is worse than they imagined. The colors are wrong. The sounds are distorted, and Gumball and Darwin's faces haunt their dreams for weeks afterward. Some say they can't watch the show anymore, that the theme song makes them uneasy. Others say they hear a faint hum of static when they turn off the TV at night. I try not to think about it too much. I keep my lights on, my curtains closed, and my TV unplugged when I'm not using it. I avoid lost media forums, and I don't go looking for stories about cursed episodes. But the legend of deleted scene is always there, waiting in the background, a shadow at the edge of my vision. If you're reading this, maybe you're curious too. Maybe you think it's just a story, something to laugh about with your friends. But if you ever find yourself alone at night, with the sound of static in your ears and the feeling that someone is watching you from the dark, remember what I've told you. Some scenes are better left lost. Some stories are better left untold. And if you ever see Gumball and Darwin standing in a living room that never ends, their eyes wide and empty, the static pressing in from every side, turn off the TV. Walk away. Don't look back. Because in deleted scene, the real nightmare isn't what you see on the screen. It's what follows you when the episode ends. I wish I could say there's a way to break the spell, to shake off the feeling that deleted scene leaves behind. But the truth is, once you know the story, it's hard to forget. It lingers in the quiet moments, in the flicker of a screen, in the uneasy silence that settles just before you fall asleep. I've learned to live with it, to keep my distance from old cartoons and lost media. But the memory is always there, waiting. Sometimes I'll catch myself glancing at the TV, half expecting to see Gumball and Darwin's eyes staring back at me from the static. Other times, I'll hear a faint hum, like the one that filled the background of that scene, and I'll freeze, heart pounding, until I convince myself it's just the refrigerator or the pipes in the wall. But deep down, I know better. I know that some stories have a way of reaching out, of finding you no matter how far you run. I've talked to others who feel the same. Some have tried to track down the scene, convinced that if they can just see it for themselves, the mystery will finally make sense. But every time, the trail goes cold. The files are corrupted, the hard drives are blank, the links disappear as soon as you click them. It's as if the scene doesn't want to be found, or maybe as if it's waiting for the right person to find it. So if you ever hear about deleted scene, or if you find yourself drawn to stories about lost episodes and hidden secrets, remember this: curiosity can be dangerous. Some things are better left alone, no matter how tempting they seem. And if you ever see a flash of static and a pair of wide, empty eyes in the corner of your screen, don't look too closely. Don't listen to the hum. Don't try to remember the details, because some episodes aren't just stories. Some scenes are warnings, and some nightmares, once they find you, never really let you go. So turn off the TV, close your laptop, and let the story fade. Trust me, there are some secrets you don't want to uncover, and deleted scene is one of them.